Well, thank you for joining this multi-stream live. It's a little bit different approach today. Usually, I will have TikTok live on Tuesdays and then YouTube lives on Thursday. I'm trying new platform and then device today. I think that is working, but hope that this one is successful one. So once again, if I encounter some issues today, just be aware that I'm trying new device and approach. Instead of having multiple live stream, I try to reach out to you at once with wider audience. So for those of you who's joining from TikTok and YouTube, hopefully you can watch me at the same time. Well, obviously it's a little bit technical, but the YouTube video is horizontal and TikTok is a vertical. This app potentially allows me to reach out to you in whatever fashions that are comfortable for you. Thank you so much for joining this live today. Those of you who post the questions today, especially from TikTok, I'll be able to answer any questions today. Now, typically, I start with Pearl in Place update and then move on to next topic. Thank you so much for joining. I see your name. Thank you. Now, Pearl in Place is a program if you enter the U.S. without admission or parole, right? And then you'll be able to adjust your status to permanent residency if you are eligible for this, program. But as you know, because of the court orders and the battles going on, these pending cases being paused. So as of today, I'm, doing this live October 3rd, Thursday. USCIS only allowed to accept process, including biometrics appointment, but they're not allowed to approve any pending Pearl in Place case. Thank you so much for all of you who's joining this meeting. And then if you post any questions, then I will review and then try to answer today. But there's an important updates. Next Thursday, October 10th, there will be major hearing scheduled, right? It will be with the Fifth Circuit Court, and they're gonna, review whether additional parties would be able to join this lawsuit. But hopefully, there might be some decision made about this current admin state, which prevents USCIS from approving pending and new Pearl in Place cases. So that's the summary as of today. Nothing has changed since September 11. Very frustrating. For those of you who's watching this video now and later, you waited this much and then you pay filing fees. Many of you work with attorneys, so you pay attorney fees. You did all the works, right? You waited this much and now it's not moving. Yes. Now, yes, it is live. It is live. It's a different format. Those of you who find me on Tuesday through TikTok and then YouTube through Thursday find it a little bit different today because I combine and then I need to review the result of this stream later and then I'm gonna decide whether I'm gonna do it differently. So I see a lot of these comments here. The Sunny asked, submitted I-131 pending 11 month. Unfortunately, I-131 advanced parole takes quite some time. You waited up to 11 months. There is a good chance that it may take more than 1 year. So that's why when we submit our, case, marriage green card case, we don't include 131 advanced parole because number one, there's additional fee of $630. And then number two, there's a good chance that your green card could be approved faster than advanced parole. And number three, if there's a real emergency, family emergency, you'll be able to apply for emergency advance parole. Same filing fee. You do it in person, same day approval. You don't wait up to like 1 year and more. So that's why we don't include advance parole usually. Now, also, one of you asked the question that you live in Jamaica. Thank you so much for asking questions. And then you got married to a U.S. citizen. That process is different than what I plan to talk today. So if you're overseas and you got married to U.S. citizen, then it's called CR1 spouse visa. So it's called consular process. It means that you'll be in Jamaica until the whole process is completed, and then you're gonna have an interview, consular interview in Kingston, Jamaica. But the one that I'm gonna talk today more in detail is marriage green card case. Those who enter with visa, whether still within validity period or overstay, but they got married to U.S. citizen, they will be able to apply for marriage green card case. So if you're overseas, got married to U.S. citizen, then it'll be a different process. I'm gonna make sure that I talk about spouse visa and K1 later. I'm looking at another question. So one of you, girlfriend lives in New York, and then you live in Canada. What's the best way to get a green card? Well, if you're a Canadian citizen, it's really easy for you to enter the US, right? Sometimes you don't need any tourist visa. You enter and then just see whether this is, good relationship for you, full-time living together in the US. And then after some time, you may think about applying for a green card. So that's one way. Or other way is that if you met your fiance in New York within 2 years, and then obviously your fiance looks like U.S. citizen, then you can do fiance visa if you met within 2 years. There's once again, you're in Canada. If you are working, have a full-time job, or you have a family that you need to help them medically or different wise, then you need to be in the Canada for quite some time. Then you can get married and do CR1 spouse visa. Obviously, when you are in relationship with the U.S. citizen petitioner, then you can have a K1 fiance visa, or CR1 spouse visa, or you can do marriage green card case. And then also I earlier mentioned that there is an option called parole in place, but unfortunately that's been paused. So that's option if you enter without visa, or if you're not paroled in the past. Now, the one of you asked, how long is the emergency parole valid? Good point, right? What's the difference between regular advance parole and emergency parole? Obviously, right, same filing fee. And then emergency parole works only if you have a valid family emergency, like your parents got sick in hospital, something terrible happened. So, but advance parole doesn't need real specific justification. So that's the difference, right? Same filing fee, but justification in terms of emergency parole is higher, it's more demanding. But it's faster. Like I said, if you make info pass in-person appointment, they can review and then approve it for you. But your question is this: how long is it? What's the validity period? Advance parole usually valid for 5 years, right? 5 years. And you can come and go multiple times, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to be overseas forever. Both occasions, regular advance parole, emergency advance parole is meant to be short duration. So, do not use any of them for a long period of time. Make it short. But at the same time, advanced parole, the regular one, I mentioned that you can come and go in a way, right? There is no maximum number you can use it. But in contrast, emergency parole, advanced parole, usually one time only. So that's the downside of emergency advanced parole, because it meant to be used only once. And then if you have an ongoing medical condition that require you to go there quite often, using regular advanced parole is good, but just wait until you have a green card. It's a lot better protection for you when you go overseas with green card. Now, I think that I missed some of the questions. I'm just looking at this list of the questions. Okay, good. So then Sammy asked, sometime USCIS marriage green card case, they don't approve I-130 and 45 at the same time. Most cases, USCIS will approve boom, boom, right? I-130 and 45. But in some cases, they will approve I-130 first. It means that they believe that you have a bona fide real relationship. That's what it means, I-130. So how long does it take? Usually, it'll take about 30 more days or less or a little bit more. So then, in most cases, unless you have a serious inadmissibility issues, like you lied to USCIS, you lied to consular post, or you have a serious criminal records, or other issues, then it may take longer. But if not, really good case, usually 30 days later. For those of you who watch my brand new TikTok that I launched today, our client case, right? USCIS approved I-130 first, and then about 30 days later, they approved 485. Happy ending. So once again, it can be at the same time, I-130, 485 approval, or it can be 130 and 45. I don't think that I have seen 45 approval followed by I-130 approval. I can be wrong, but usually at the same time or 130 or 45. Okay, I'm gonna just scroll these questions now. Just give me 1 second here. From Canada, can I marry in the US and get green card? Or which is better, K1 or come to US and then apply for green card? You're a Canadian citizen. So you have two options. The K1 right now, right, is something that you can start right away if you met within 2 years of this, filing, and then it's about 6 months. So it's fast. But Canadian citizens, as I explained previously, super easy for you to come to US for now. If the Trumps come back, maybe a different story. So, like I said, you can come, wait some time, try out to see whether this is real full-time living arranged for you and then your spouse. And then perhaps if one of you propose that this is it, let's live together in the US, then you may apply for marriage green card case. But when you enter the US, be aware that, you shouldn't have an intention of getting married and apply for green card. I mean, you're free to come to US to visit and spend time with your girlfriend and boyfriend, right? That's the nature of the tourist visa. But when you have a prior intent of getting married and apply for green card, then there may be some issues. When you try to enter, or if you get married too fast, then there might be some issues after you enter. So you need to be absolutely careful. If you'd like to learn more about this option, right, entering the US with a tourist visa, and then maybe think about, applying for green card, call us. We'll talk to you and we'll explain, okay? Now, Ibrahina, I have a question. My brother's father's petition by the, I say, yeah. So when the I-130 petitioner passed away, then there's a way to sort of continue the case, but it's really, fact specific. I'm unable to explain today, but if you like to talk to us, call us, and then one of us will talk to you. And then doesn't mean that you have a case, you'll be able to continue the case, but at least you should talk to a professional to learn about whether you may continue the case after the passing of I-130 petitioner. Okay, I'm just looking at this. Okay, now Badri asked this question, right? I think that you asked the question for marriage petition. I think that you're talking about marriage green card case, or it can be, spouse visa, right? You're thinking about starting immigration case in the context of marriage to U.S. citizen or even permanent resident. I mean, if you get married to U.S. citizen faster, if you get married to a permanent resident, it's slower, but still, viable options. So your question is your birth certificate as a foreign spouse required? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Not only you need a birth certificate, but you need to have a right one, correct one. And then you need a valid translation if your birth certificate is not printed and then issued in English. So absolutely important. And also you asked question whether, you didn't ask question this way, but you need a valid passport as well. In the case of spouse visa, if you're living overseas and get married to U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you don't need it to start the case. But toward the end, when you get ready for a consular interview, which is a final stage, you absolutely need a passport for many different reasons. Number one, right? When you attend the consular interview, they will put the stamp, not the stamp, the immigrant visa. Without passport, you're not getting any immigrant visa, so you're not able to come. So number one, make sure that you have enough validity period of your passport. I would say minimum 1 year. Usually 6 months, but I would say 1 year. Okay. And number two, without the passport, you're not able to enter the U.S. So you're absolutely important. Now, if you're in the U.S. already, right? I just talked about this issue in the context of you being overseas. But if you're in the U.S., then you absolutely need a passport or the passport that you use to enter the U.S. It is highly, highly recommended that you have a copy of the passport that you enter with. And then for practical reasons, you also need a valid passport because if you fly nowadays, and then if you happen to be out of status, you don't have a valid driver license, right? So having a valid passport is really good idea for you to fly inside the United States. So then covering all your question in different contexts, passports really important, but having correct birth certificate, whether you're overseas or here, absolutely important. And then you need a good translation. Okay, now I'm gonna, drink some water. Just give me 1 second here. By the way, thank you so much for joining this live stream and asking questions. Instead of what I prepared today to discuss, I'm gonna just focus on answering questions for now. And then if there's any time left, then I'm gonna answer any, talk about what I prepare. So one of you asked the question, if you enter with tourist visa and then got married to a permanent resident, then what do you do? That's a good question, right? That's a good question. When I post many TikTok videos, I get a lot of questions. My spouse is a permanent resident. I'm overseas and I'm here. What's my options? So I will tell you this. Now, if you're in the U.S. and then you got married to a permanent resident, if you overstay your visa, it means that you're out of status, or at some time you're engaged in unlawful employment, because in this country you need a valid employment authorization to work lawfully. But if you ever unlawfully present or unlawfully employed or unlawfully work, then those two will not be forgiven if your spouse remain a permanent resident. In contrast, if your spouse is U.S. citizen, your unlawful presence, unlawful employment, in most cases, will be forgiven. So the answer is that perhaps you may need to go back to your home country, because if you're here with a tourist visa, because maximum they will give you would be 6 months. And unfortunately, the marriage green card case involving permanent resident spouse is called F2A, adjustment of the status. They're not current. It means that you're only able to submit I-130 only, not able to submit 485 anytime soon. You're not able to submit I-130 and 45 at the same time. So you may spend some time together in the US during this tourist visa validity period, but prior to expiration, you need to go back. But once again, even under Biden, and then it'll be more challenging under Trump. If you come to US too often, sometime you'll be given hard time. Maybe at some point, your entry will be denied. When the Trump was the president first time, and then, like for example, you enter, or try to enter the U.S. with a tourist visa, but when they see the CBP, immigration at the airport, see pending I-130 petition or pending 129F petition, which is a K-1, then they're turned away. They're told that you should wait in your home country until the whole thing is, completed, even though you had a valid tourist visa. It was hard time. It was tough time. It can be worse if he ever comes back. So just be aware that number two, right? Number one, number two, I talked about this, right? If your spouse is a permanent resident, then your unlawful stay employment will not be forgiven. And then if you come to US too often, at some point, your entry could be denied, okay? Now, I'm just a little bit behind in terms of reading of the questions, but thank you so much for asking these questions. Now, probably I'm gonna just answer your questions today because I have quite a bit. Now, okay, just like reviewing this. Okay, one of you, yes, and then the same question. Of course, you can get married to a permanent resident. But as I explained, it takes longer. It takes longer. Number two, if there's any unlawful presence and unlawful employment, your case 485 will be denied. And then in terms of how long it'll takes, and then it's gonna take quite some time if you're overseas. If you're here in the U.S., you're not able to submit I-130 and 485 at the same time. So it's a challenging. But yes, you can get married to a permanent resident. If you need attorney help, just call us and then we'll talk to you. Now, okay, resident, permanent, yeah. So it's the same questions about getting married to a permanent resident. Okay. Now let me see. Yeah, and then one of you asked the questions because I'm based in Chicago. I mean, by now most of you know that we're based in Chicago, but serving all 50 states. And Justin asked, does marriage green card case move fast in Chicago? Answer is absolutely yes. Chicago, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, upper Midwest, they go fast. Why? Because if USCIS scheduled interview for you, there's less people, less waiting. If you're from California, Texas, Miami, New York, simply there's a lot more, immigrants like you. So if the USCIS scheduled interview, you have to wait longer. But I tell this all the time. Well-prepared cases with a strong relationship documents is highly likely USCIS will waive interview, no interview. So what does it mean? It means that instead of Chicago field office reviewing your case and then scheduling interview for you, National Benefit Center, which initially review all marriage green card cases, will review and approve your case. So what does it mean? It means that whether you live in California, Texas, Miami, New York, do not matter because it's reviewed by one central agency. They don't factor, well, there's a lot of people in California, we're gonna slow down. No. So answer is yes or no. If your case is good, then it doesn't really matter where you live. But if they schedule interview, then yes, where you live will control. And then sort of adding my points, some of you asking the question like, okay, Chicago goes fast. Dr. Jae Francis practice in Chicago, but I live in Texas, for example. Can I use your address or Chicago address, my friend's address in Chicago, when we file marriage green card case? Answer is no. No, absolutely not. You should use the address where you live, even though it may take longer. You need to be honest. I talk about this all the time. It's all about accurate, complete address. Not only your address, but joint address for you and your spouse. Absolutely important. But, repeating one more time, even though we're based in Chicago, we serve nationwide. Contact us if you need our assistance. Okay, now I'm just reviewing this. So one of you have a UK fiance, right? So then your fiance is from UK. And then, the good thing about UK and some other countries, they have a ESTA. I mean, the visa waiver. I mean, the difference between other countries and ESTA country is that ESTA process, application process, super simple. Like you don't need to tell much. And then they almost approve 100%. But when you enter the US, you only have 90 days to stay compared to tourist visa, B2 tourist visa. It's up to 6 months, but ESTA up to 90 days. So the question is, when you enter with the ESTA, can you get married and apply for green card? Yes, but you need to be careful. If you get married too fast, then USCIS will accuse you of having preconceived intent to get married and apply for green card. So when Jethro, you have a fiance from UK and then with you, contact us. We'll talk to you. One of us talk to you and then tell you what to do or how to do it correctly, safely, by the regulation. It's all about following the rule. If you try to circumvent or break the rule, your case will be in danger. You don't want to jeopardize your case. Just work with a professional and be honest, complete, by the book. And then I repeat many times, try to submit strong relationship documents, right? And then you need to develop and build your case, okay? It's not about, hey, this is what we have and we're gonna go with this. You need to develop your case to make sure that you don't get RFE, you don't get interview. Remember, right? No interview means is that you can work with any other attorneys. I made a YouTube video previously. For those of you who are in California, Texas, Miami, New York, I mean, super expensive. Like Seattle, right? Seattle, Washington, super expensive. So why does it matter? Their attorney fees very expensive accordingly, right? Because their office is, more expensive. Everything is expensive. You'll be surprised that Chicago, major city in the U.S., is a little bit affordable big city. Chicago immigration attorney fee, including ours, competitive. So if you have a good case, you don't need to work with a local attorney, right? Because remember, National Benefit Center will review and approve your case. There is no interview. There is no interview in San Francisco. So why? I mean, it's up to you, right? You can work with a local attorney. We welcome our clients from Wisconsin and Indiana, Iowa, and then, Illinois. I mean, you're welcome all the time. But we work nationwide because we're very good. This is what we do. We're like a well-oiled machine when it comes to marriage, green card case, and all family-based. So, just think about that. Okay, so I'm behind. I'm just reviewing this. Okay, Goody Andy's sister hired as NYU as a professor. I don't know whether you know this, but I have a PhD from NYU. That's why I call myself Dr. Jae Francis Lee. I have a PhD in addition to JD, which makes me a lawyer, but I have a PhD. And also I was a college professor for 22 years. So that's why I call myself Dr. Jae Francis, because I have a PhD, which is not common. But circling back to your sister, it's called EB1A or EB1B. They were fast because why? This is kind of sad. certain employment-based cases, right? Employment-based, not the family, they offer premium processing. It means that if you pay more, USCIS will review your case super fast, like 15 days. And then good thing about EB1, usually it's a current. It means that you'll be able to submit I-140 and 45 at the same time. So good for you. Your sister is a smart, well-deserved this fast immigration process. For myself, I was born in South Korea, and then I had to go through this process myself, right? I went to NYU, like F1 visa. And then I started as a college professor, H-1B, work visa, apply for EB-1B, employment-based green card. I didn't get married to U.S. citizen. My wife is from Korea too. We were, classmate in South Korea, by the way. So anyway, so I obtained my permanent residency through EB-1B, and then I, apply for N-400 naturalization to be a U.S. citizen. So I'm like you. I'm first generation. And then also later, I filed petition for my mother. So I was involved in family-based, employment-based work visa myself. That's why my firm handles almost all kinds of immigration cases. Also, although I don't speak Spanish, I have many team members who speak Spanish as well. So if you have friends who don't speak English but converse in Spanish and need attorney, contact us. Okay, contact us. Yeah, one of you mentioned 601 waiver. Like I don't know whether it's about how long it takes, and then whether you need help with the 601. We're exceptionally good with the waiver process as well, right? I mean, there's a different waiver. So 601A waiver, if you're unlawfully present, it means that you enter without, visa, or you're not paroled, and then you overstay, and then you got married to U.S. citizen or permanent resident spouse, or a variation. So 601A. 601 waiver is is required when you are inadmissible. It means that you're not able to adjust your status. So it can be fraud and misrepresentation. It means that you lied to government, immigration agency, or you have a criminal records in all this. So that might be you may need to go through 601. Now in terms of 601, there is a two variation. Now, for example, you have a marriage green card case, and then, when you apply for tourist visa, I'm just giving you an example, you lie to consular post. So, for example, you entered the U.S. unlawfully in the past, and then one of the question is that, have you ever entered the U.S. unlawfully? And you say no, because you wanted to get tourist visa. And then you enter the U.S., got married to U.S. citizen, and they feel like, wow, I'm almost there. We have a bona fide slam dunk relationship documents. And then boom, your local field office hit you with 601 waiver. On top of that, sometime they will issue 601 in the context of notice of intent to deny. It's called NOID. Why is it problem? Because they want to give you 33 days. 33 days. It's not enough. It's very challenging, but we're exceptionally good in terms of preparing and handling these time-sensitive NOID cases. Now, if you're overseas, then 601 waiver will be required after interview. So that's the difference. So if you're in the US and then you're hit with a 601, then you don't need to leave the United States. You do it inside. But if you're overseas, then this will be sort of given to you after your interview. And then unfortunately, both waivers, 601A waiver and 601, will take some time, quite some time, but different nature. Sorry, maybe that's not what your question, but you said 601A. Okay, I have a lot of questions, and then I think I'm over 30 minutes. This format is okay. Sorry, I wish it's better than this. For those of you who are confused, because I practice run prior to this, and I wanted to make sure that video is working, audio is working, and then unfortunately, although this program allowed me to multi-stream, didn't allow me to do the practice run. So sorry, maybe I confused you. But for now, I'm gonna see you Thursday 5 p.m. Central Time those of you who know me, I'm a big Buffalo Bill fans, and Josh Allen, we don't play today, but have a good rest of the Thursday, because usually after this, Thursday night football. So thank you so much for joining this in live stream. I'm gonna review, and then you know what? I'll promise you, I'll try to answer more questions better, give you clear explanation, and also you can contact us, right? You don't need to wait every Thursday to see me. You can watch my TikTok, YouTube videos. Also, you can call us, and one of you will talk to you. We'll help you. Thank you so much for joining this meeting and live stream.